What's up, everybody? It's your favorite record destroyer's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Fanshobby Overlord, otherwise known as Double Evil. That's evil times 2. This is on loan to me from Lance, same gentleman who I was able to work with in order to take a look at the TE Prime, so I definitely appreciate him. A lot of people have been asking me to look at this guy, so he was able to make that happen. This dude does come with a ton of accessories, some gimmicks, etc., so let's not waste too much time, shall we? He comes with his signature gun, as you would expect. You can get it out to here. Has some black paint on it, some silver paint on it, which you know I like, and a ton of sculpted detail, which I also dig. You can fold this, you can fold this, you can collapse it and kind of compact it. He can hold it no problem using a groove system like Make Toys has used in the past. In tank mode, the gun stores by using this peg into that slot, and then this peg into this hole. And I will try to do my best to do it on camera, but it is not the easiest thing in the world to do. There. The gun can also peg into one of these notches on either leg in base mode. You get these two little fellas, and they're detailed differently, and are they sculpted differently? It looks like they're sculpted. There's some minor differences in the chest and such. Head sculpts seem to be the same. So we'll go through the transformation of one, then we'll look at both. Very simple. Just unpeg the legs and bring them down and around with the clowns from out of town. You know what I mean? And then bring the arms up. Articulation-wise, you got a swivel up here at the head, silver and red paint that looks fantastic on the face, silver paint on the chest that looks great as well. The arms are on ball pegs that attach at the shoulder. That can get you out almost 45 degrees and then swivel around a taste. Then you have an elbow hinge that gets you just the slightest little bit there, which I think is ultimately fine for a little guy. And then you have universals, but they're awkwardly pegged, so you can get straight forward, or you can move it out and get straight out to the side. And then you have a knee hinge that gets you past 90 degrees. We have some silver paint on the toes, and then we have some chrome detailings there on the back. This guy's the same, except we have some gold detailings and then the gold chrome on the back, which looks sharp as a tack. Of course, he has the Breastmaster action, and I know they're not called Breastmasters. I just think it's funny, and don't bother telling me what they're really called, because in the great words of the King of Wakanda, I don't care. That being said, you just take them, they're spring activated, so your little features will push out. 1 and 2. Now, they don't really stay stuck in there per se, but they do have this little notch here that comes around to keep them in position. And at first I was annoyed by that, but I gotta tell you, see, as you can see, it can cause annoyance, but I gotta tell you, I think I prefer it. It does have these pegs, and there is these like notches for them, but it's kind of hard to get them stuck in. And I kind of like the idea of like just securing it, and then you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to make sure everything's pegged in properly, and then you can close the chest and kind of be done with it. So I'm good with that. Ultimately, I wasn't sure I was, but turns out I was, so rest assured. And you should be able to fit one of your little fellas inside. Just get it in there, girl. And of course, they can sit up in here as well. You have a steering wheel, same nice detailing inside. You can kind of sit them in and close that down. And your little fellas can sit in here to kind of work your cannons in base mode. We have his shield. You have the handle down here that can swivel as you hold it, and then it can collapse up there. And then this cockpit obviously does open, and the steering column comes up, and inside it looks like it's all painted. Actually, just maybe the bottom bit. Pretty nice. You got the Tampo paint there, and then you have the silver paint, silver paint, silver paint. The white plastic underneath looks sharp, and that might be gray paint on there, which looks good. It's a good looking piece. Now, to get the shield attached on, you open up these two flaps here at the bottom, and you have these two notches and these two grooves, and you gotta help Stella get a groove back. And it's a little challenging just because I can't exactly see what I'm doing, but there. And now that's in there. You get your ramp. It folds up. It's just this teal plastic. You separate this piece from those, and you can store it all by placing this piece on the back of your jet canopy. Take your backpack, lift it up. You're looking for these two pegs. Take your ramp, fold it in half. You've got these two, and I guess they're the pegs, right? What am I doing? and then that can tab in there and collapse, and it's pretty clean. And the entire ramp can be stowed in tank mode by using these two pieces here kind of as your guide, and then wrapping it all around these other kind of correlated notches that you should be able to see. The ramp can also be utilized in base mode to connect into the back here for a signature look. You get 4 missiles with silver paint on the tips of them, so to speak. And then in robot mode, you peg the fins into this back plate here, which is not the greatest, but it does work. It's not the greatest connection, but it does work. It does do the job. It's just kind of, you know, they made it happen kind of deal. The missiles can also plug in underneath the wings in jet mode by using these tension notches here for all 4, 2 on this side, 2 on the other wing. He also comes with this little claw armature. You have the hinge here that opens up the claw, and then it hinges here and here, and then we have some silver paint on the pistons. Ultimately looks nice. It can stow away inside of this area here, even when it's connected. I'm going to take it off just to not potentially snap anything or anything, because it's a lot of torque to get on this peg, but it can stow away. When going to jet mode, you can also plug in your little armature into the side of the panel where the landing gear come out, and that will tuck away. Utilizing a peg that's tucked in to the front, you can utilize your claw. You get these 2 kind of accent pieces. They're both sculpted well enough, just purple plastic, but they're a nice little detail. For robot mode and tank mode, you can simply have these pieces stored in here, which are the leg panels for the robot or the top of the turret for the tank. Those 2 pieces are mainly for base mode so that you can plug them into the thrusters once you have it kind of up and running. You also have, accessory-wise, 3 missiles that sit up in here, which is a nice little touch, something they didn't have to do, but you have them. He also comes with these double turrets. They do extend, and they have a peg here, which can peg into the back of Overlord for bot mode and extend or be compressed. It can also go into base mode, and that can plug in here, and then you can extend your cannons. You also get some stickers if you'd like. One is on a foil kind, and then one is more black and white. Up to you. And I think this is for their prime, the power baster, and this is for him. Gimmick-wise, there's also a landing gear. It's like kind of like ratcheted, or it's not ratcheted, it's just like this piece pegs in, but it's very difficult to get out. It comes out of these 2 flaps here, and then you kind of have to, God, look how much, there, and that will get it out. It's just, it's not the best, but it looks good once it's there, and it's very sturdy. The other landing gear are on the inside of the forearm. You open up this panel, sort it around, collapse it. Do it for both sides. The canopy also has cannons that can fold out here at base mode. And then you have the cannons here and such. All right, so let's talk about the figure. And we're gonna have to go piece by piece because this guy's huge. So here we have a swivel. This gets you forward and back, not much down. However, connected to this swivel is a ball peg that allows you to get the down. So that all works well, and additional up. Not sure what he'd be looking up at, but it's nice to have the range. You also get the swivel at the ball peg and confused dog look at the ball peg. We have a metallic red paint on the eyes that looks absolutely spectacular, and we have silver paint both on the crest and on the antenna. Nicely done. At the shoulder, we have a hinge inside of the chest that allows you to get about a 45-degree range. Attached to that is basically a universal that allows for the rest of the articulation. So you can get using both 90 degrees, which is nice. Now his signature kind of castles on his shoulder do get in the way. However, they're articulated as well, so you can also maneuver them around to sort of get what you need. So no real issues. There's also a hard ratchet here and a hard ratchet at the shoulder, and then another soft ratchet to get the swivel. Once again, you can manipulate the cone to get the arm all the way around if you so desire. The shoulder itself has Tampo paint here and some gray paint there, which looks good. More Tampo paint on the back. We have a bicep swivel. We have some gray paint on the bicep, and then we have a double jointed elbow that gets you a pretty good range, almost perfect. The top ratchet is hard and the bottom ratchet is soft. For the forearm and hand, we have some gray paint here and here, as well as the Tampo paint, some gray paint on this side, and then these wings and such, a little bit more Tampo paint and gray paint on the back. For the hands, you have the swivel at the wrist, you have a ball peg for the thumb with a secondary knuckle hinge. The fingers are on a base pin knuckle, like the punk band. I saw the comment. And we got 2 additional hinges at the fingers. So each finger is individually articulated, and you can go all the way straight or all the way curled, and they're all pinned and not tensioned. So the hands are pretty much done perfectly. Same for the other side. For the chest, we have black paint, purple paint, yellow paint, red paint. All looks good. We have a hinge at the chest, which is interesting for your ab crunch. They use it at basically the diaphragm, but I think it's as effective, if not more so. Now, you can't get an extreme range, but it better hides the sculpt. So that's a question to you as to what's more important. To me, I'm more of a sculpt guy, so I prefer maybe a more subtle ab crunch in this area with the sculpt intact than one of those huge ab crunches where it breaks the figure to Kingdom Come. And then we have the waist swivel as well. For the hips and thighs, we have purple paint, silver paint, silver paint. The flaps on the waist will get up and out of the way. They're attached, it looks like on a ball peg to me, to a hinge, which allow them to get out of the way, and then the side flaps do as well, not the back flaps. And then we have universals here at the hips. They're ratcheted. They are a bit limited, but I don't think you'll need much more. It would have been nice to have a little bit more, but I think this will get you pretty much everything that you would mostly want. And then a hard ratchet out to the front. As you can see, it holds the leg weight just fine, and the legs are heavy. So very well done there. And then the back, so you get pretty much the full Monty, but far from the full Van Damme. And then we have a thigh swivel as well. Now this piece, when it comes disconnected. In order to attach it, you just slide this in, and then you use this button to release it. For the knee, you have a double hinge, and if I take this little back piece off, you get pretty much the full range, which is impressive. And it feels like they're both soft ratchets to me. For the lower legs, we have tons of detailing. We have this like this cloudy gray, which is a really nice color, and then the Tampo paint there and there, the cloudy gray there. Some other detailings inside of here, some silver paint and stuff on the side, some more Tampo paint. So it's really it's accented quite well in that regard. The ankles. So unfortunately for me, this is where it falls apart a bit. So hard ratchet for an ankle tilt, no issues. Hard rankit. Hard rankit. Dude, what's up with that hard rankit? Hard ratchet ankle tilt up, minor, but it's there. We got a heel spur that articulates independently, and then this piece can even come out further for more of a stance. So the other bit is this rocker. So you have a swivel, which gets the foot on a rocker, a proper rocker, and that works nicely as well. My problem with the ankles is that because of where the ratcheted teeth are, to get it into a lock stance that looks up, it like wants to put him a little bit more back than I would prefer it. Like the teeth of the ratchets aren't positioned as well as I would personally prefer. They're fine, and with a little bit of work, you'll be able to get them balanced, no problem. Excuse me, I'm allergic to wide tooth ratchets. And you should be fine. However, just be aware it's something you might have to work through for the sake of posing or something. And there he is from the back. And I'd say it's fairly clean. It's not perfect, you know, and there is a lot of stuff hanging off of him, but that's also kind of true to the character design, so I'm ultimately good with it. Size comparison wise, there it is next to Carnifex. I know this is something that people want compared, but honestly, it's apples and oranges. They're not trying to achieve the same set of goals. The Fanshobby one is bigger and looks more accurate for what it's trying to do. The MMC one is smaller and looks more accurate for what it's trying to do. I can even make the argument that the Fanshobby one is slightly too small for actually what it's trying to do. However, the MMC one is pretty close to the mark in regards to size of what it's trying to do, which is the IDW, more chug-scaled Overlord. So I can make the argument that the MMC one is actually more effective, but I think that they ultimately check both boxes of the goal in which they're trying to achieve. But you have to be savvy enough to realize those goals. I've been seeing a lot of like, but the MMC one is too small for a masterpiece. Yeah, yes, yeah, that's a fair argument. To be fair, you know, this guy's a little small to be a masterpiece too. It doesn't mean that he's wrong. It just means that he's too small to be a masterpiece. Now, if he were trying to be a masterpiece, then you could make the argument that he was wrong. Now, unfortunately, I just don't have too much that makes sense to show in terms of scale. That makes sense, but here is Victory Saber, and I think at the very least they look good together. All right, let's get him transformed. The first thing I did was take off all the stuff. I took off the shield, I took off the back plate, I took off the missiles, etc. You can press this button here and release the legs. That's one out. Release the second one. And that makes it a little bit more manageable to work with. You know, I like to start by getting the hands away, so let's lift up this panel, flip out the thruster. The thumb, you kind of have to watch it around this piece here, but fold it up and then push it back, and then push it a little extra harder than you feel like you should. And that will snap it into place. I don't care for that either. And then close this down over top. Same thing on this side. Flip this up, thruster out, hand in. Oh, I don't like that at all. Push this down and snap it in. Let's get the arms cleaned up. This piece is on a slider, so this comes down. The wings come out. You can close and collapse the shoulder pad, and then you want it to key in to this little slot there in the forearm. This piece comes down and keys into another slot at the forearm. This panel flips up. It's on a double hinge, so be mindful that it lines up properly. And then this piece comes around and collapses around that tab. Same for this side. We open up the wing and get it out of the way, collapse the shoulder panel down. You want it to lock in to this location on the forearm. You can move this panel up. It's on a double hinge. Make sure it's extended properly. Mine isn't, but we'll fix it later. Take this, slide it down. That will key in to the forearm as well. Take your nose cone here, collapse it around this notch. Now you want to take the backpack, disconnect it, bring it down, tab these pieces into these side pieces. Make sure that these flaps are down properly. Some dirt on this thing. Fold up the wings, fold down the back plate, and then clean up your thigh connections, which are more thrusters. Lastly, you connect this to here. And you're using these two teeth, one here and one here, into these grooves here, and then this section kind of tensions on there. And this is very stressful. I'm not gonna push it any further. I'm uncomfortable, and it doesn't belong to me. So this should be able to at least illustrate the point. Now let's do the beat. So this piece here, I've already unlatched it. I'll just do it again. It makes me very nervous. But you pull it away from this piece, and there's a little clip there. Then you disconnect here, bring this around, it'll tab back in, rotate that 180, and then bring it around to the other side. Now flip this piece open. This piece and this piece has to slide out. Take your foot in here, tuck that in, slide this in. That will allow you the clearance to get it lined up, and then you can bring this piece around and sit it so that this all lines up nice as well. Then you can take your lower piece, open it up, take these tabs, this comes down and tabs back around on the underside of the tank. Then for your last panel, bring it up here on this double hinge, open up this flap here, pull this one side flap around from underneath. That's the notch you're looking to land right there. So this last panel needs to be at a bit of an angle as you bring it down, and then hopefully tab it all in. Then your last step is to bring this turret around. This collapses just a taste. there. Slide this bar to the opposite side, and then these two notches plug in to the blue part of the leg. This other leg is very similar, so we're gonna start with the foot, unnotch it. It makes me a little nervous, by the way. I didn't mention these rubber pads on the bottom of the feet. That's a nice little feature there. Bring these up, bring the toe forward, rotate it around 180 degrees, bring it around to the bottom. Here you can extend this panel, slide this piece out, bring this around, tab it all in down here, there, key in there, and into the leg. Bring your foot and hide it underneath. Bring this panel down, open this flap up, wrap it around, plug it back in. Open this panel, double hinge out, bottom flap out. I don't think this one has an inner tab. It does not. Bring this down, and you want to bend the back panel. It's a little ornery too, so that it plugs in to the blue piece there. Make sure it's keyed in here. Bring your, it's basically the same exactly thing, you know what I mean? That's why we're kind of flying through it. So open this up, slide that down, bring it around to here, flip your gun out, or your turret rather, and then tab it in the same exact way. And then you collapse this, and as you can see, there's a ton of corresponding pegs and slots, as you would imagine. That's basically it. I will clean it up and we'll take a look at it. So let's talk about the tank first, and then we'll kind of show them both together. The treads do work. They're just stubborn on this mat. The turret moves to about, I don't know, 20, 30 degrees each side, but that's nice. It's better than nothing. Nice tampo paint. The silver paint comes through nice. These bits over here, oh, I thought it swiveled. It doesn't. And then you have, of course, here, which we showed the missiles already. So all that stuff is pretty cool. The turret does move up. It moves down. It's and it's pretty impressive just how clean it is. Like, and how sort of inclusive all the pieces are to it. Very cool. And then the jet is huge. Rolls. You have the cockpit. We've already kind of talked about that. We have the cannons. So they can pull up on this peg here, and then you can sort of maneuver them around to get them where you'd like them. The wings move if you'd prefer to have them styled differently or what have you. All the decos come through. The thrusters look cool. So yeah, this works really well as well. I did finally get this connected here. It just was a little bit of a pain, but I did get it. And then there they are together. And I think it looks appropriate. I think it looks how you would expect it to and how you'd want it to. And of course, no review is complete without an appearance from Tiger Track. So they're massive. They're massive. So we're gonna start with the tank. We're gonna take this piece off. We're gonna take this piece off. We're going to separate these two pieces, and this one piece is giving me a heck of a time. I don't want to break this. I'm gonna have to do this off camera, but separate this into two pieces. Disconnect the turret from the top. You want to flip this piece out, and then this comes back around and plugs in to the tab that you just flipped out. Then you flip out this tab at the bottom and this tab at the bottom, and he's good to go. Same for this side, except you also want to tuck your turret in, unplug, flip out, bring this back around, and plug in. On the bottom, flip this tab out and this tab out. There's a button here, a white button that you push. That's supposed to allow you to break that off, so to speak, and thank God it didn't break, but it doesn't feel good. Untab the arms, move them to the back, and put your landing gear away if you haven't already done so. And also, the main reason why we show this step is so that we can show to fold up the wings on the sides of the arms. Underneath, fold out your teal planks. This is dirty too. What is going on over there? And then you can bring this back down and plug it in, and then use this tab to fold out and come around to the opposite side. Now you want to connect your cockpit to the back here. You're going to use the same tabs you used previously. To solidify this connection, plug in the arms back in to the cockpit area. Otherwise, you'll be flopping around with this thing for the rest of the day. Using the tab at the bottom of the ramp, you connect it to your tanks on both sides and this side. And it takes a little bit of kind of cleaning up, which we will do, and then we'll come back and take a look at it. So there it is, and I'll be honest with you, I like it a fair bit. I really do. I'm kind of easy when it comes to base modes. I'm a sucker for them. Like, as long as they're kind of suggestive enough, I'm sort of on board. Like, if they look interesting enough, or like a believable place where characters could live, I guess, or what have you, I'm in. So I'll give you a little size comparison with the little Legends class figure. I think that it works fine enough. I think that it's decent enough, good enough, rather, where you could have it displayed in this mode for a Legends collection, or obviously in robot mode for your masterpiece stuff. So I think this is actually really effective. Final thoughts, let's start with the negatives. There are some tolerance issues in terms of things clicking in right or releasing properly. The canopy clicking into the jet, the tank treads releasing from one another are two of the standouts for me. This is sort of one of those things where, very similarly to what people said about Fans Toys Hoodlum, where the design had been around for so long, they were less forgiving. Well, I mean, this design has been around since TFCon Charlotte, and I feel like some of those bugs should have probably been worked out as well. The robot is solid. However, it's also unwieldy because of its size, and one of the things that makes it most frustrating to deal with in that regard are the ankle notches in regards to the ratchets. It ends up becoming a little bit more complicated than you would imagine to pull off a pose where it keeps the figure balanced and looking and maintaining a menacing and intimidating look. Based on the ratchet notches, he has a tendency to kind of lean one way or the other. Lastly, my major criticism is this. For a masterpiece scaled figure, this sort of plastic as a base is just not enough, especially for a figure this size. The plastic is very durable and as a result holds up under some of the tolerance issues and feels beefy and sturdy. However, it also has very much a toy vibe and doesn't look as pristine as some of the Takara X Transbots today, Fans Toys of course, and even the DX9 Henry that we just looked at recently. It doesn't have that same pop because of this flat, chunky plastic, which while maintains a quality material, doesn't give it the oomph that you would expect a figure like this to give you. There are far more positives though. The sculpt is great. The engineering is spectacular. That's something that Fanshobby has kind of been consistent with, in my opinion, for the most part. Although their connection points still remain an issue, both with this and with their power baser. Cleans up very well. The materials feel great and the hardware is fantastic. The alt modes and the base mode work beautifully. It's highly articulated. Cleans up well, but is fairly expensive. It also has a ton of accessories that are integrated into every single mode beautifully. So I can recommend it. There are just some personal gripes with it that I have that keep me from saying it's a spectacular figure. But there are spectacular things about it. I often get asked when I do reviews like this of a very solid product whether or not it's enough for me to buy it, and the answer is no. I've recently come to terms with the idea that most of the stuff in the Japanese continuity doesn't really appeal to me. A few pieces here and there I might pick up, but the Overlord that means the most to me is the one from IDW, and I have a great representation of it. However, if I didn't and I love this character, I would definitely pick this up. Thanks once again to Lance for all of his help recently, and thanks for listening, thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.